What it do, golf fans? Welcome back to the Turn Dark Golf Podcast. If you are watching on YouTube video version, you can see that this is going to be a solo podcast that is just me today. Happy Memorial Day. Jack is doing a little bit of traveling, so unfortunately he's not going to be able to make it on, but don't worry, we have all of his notes and his mistakes from last week still written on here, so I will go through and do that all with you. Just a couple of highlights. Again, it was pretty good week, all things considered. Scotty Scheffler did finish T2nd. Davis Riley just decided to totally run away with the golf tournament. Um, 300 to 1 odds. If you got Davis Riley at 300 to 1, more power to you. Not a lot of people did. I don't think he's even worth looking to go back to at this point, because it's probably not going to happen again for another 5 years. But shout out to Davis Riley. Again, Scotty Scheffler, T2. I think Morikawa was top 12 at most in terms of his finish spot as well. There were a few very interesting names that played, both good and bad. I think Christian Bezuidenhout was one that stood out to me. He didn't really fit the course model at all, but he played it very well. He was top 20. I think that Max Homa is another one that stood out. He shot 7 over on Thursday and basically shot himself out of making the cut line. Um, there were a few guys like that were quite surprising that just did not come out of the gates firing on all cylinders, and because of it, it just didn't really materialize for them. On one note, before I get into any further golf information, I just want to say thoughts and prayers to Grayson Murray's family. If any of you guys didn't know, he withdrew after 16 holes on Friday, citing illness, and then passed away is the best way to say it on Saturday, just due to suicide. It's very sad. If again, just know that there are a lot of people out there that are loved. If you've ever thought about that, please do seek the help and the resources because they're all there. People care about you. So thoughts and prayers. And again, I know that a lot of the golfers this past week too also had a rough week because of it. No easy segues. Gosh, this is like 2 out of 3 weeks in a row I've had to talk about death being golf related, which is so sad. Um, Jeez. Um, Looping all this back in, I'm gonna go through Jack's DraftKings lineup and his FanDuel lineups. I don't know as much of his detail because he usually goes through his own notes on this. Um, he had Morikawa again, who was top 12. Homa, who missed the cut. He had Maverick McNeely, who was like T20-ish. Ackroat, who I think made the cut but didn't play very well. McIntyre, who missed the cut, and Svensson, who missed the cut. He did not end up making money. Then we in FanDuel, he had Morikawa, who made the cut, Homa, who missed, Hoagie, who made the cut, and then Højgaard, who missed the cut, Eckroat, who missed the cut, and McIntyre, who missed the cut. So maybe it wasn't Eckroat that. The point being, he didn't play that great as far as DFS. For me, I had for DraftKings, I had Morikawa, who was fourth, Homa, who was miscut, Taylor Moore miscut, McNeely T17, Rio miscut, Ben Coles miscut. Similar for FanDuel, I had Scotty T2, Homa miscut, Maverick McNeely T17, Taylor Moore miscut, Mark Hubbard T65, and Ben Coles, who also missed a cut. So it was a pretty weak overall week for us in terms of that. There was a lot of no names that ended up missing the cut, which or ended up making the cut, which caused our guys to miss, which made it quite difficult. Um, it's gonna happen. I think this is probably the first week in 3 months where we have gone 0 for 4 in terms of DFS lineups. It was a strange week. Davis Riley beat Scotty Scheffler. I mean, nothing else you can really chalk it up to other than that. As far as bets go, Jack went 2-6. Yeah, 2-6. He had McIntyre at top 40, who missed the cut. He had Nikolai Højgaard made cut at -200. That was a loss. Uh, Akshay Bhatia, 45th or better. That was a loss. He had Morikawa top 20 round one. That was a win at +175. He had Scotty Scheffler to play in the final round Sunday at +210. That was a winner. If you would have told me on Thursday after Scotty Scheffler played awful and I think was +3 that he was going to be part of the final pairing on Thursday on Sunday, I would have laughed. He had Eckroad who finished top 40. That was a loss. Tom Kim to finish top 45. We don't have that listed here. I think that was a win. But then he had Taylor Moore finish top 40. That was a loss. And Homa to finish top 30. That was a loss. So overall, he did lose a little bit on the week. I don't have his numbers specifically in front of me. I'm sure he will talk about it next week when he comes back. For mine, I had 4 bets. I had Rio Hisasune top 40. That was a loss. Taylor Moore over Aaron Rye. That was a loss. Max Homa over Jordan Spieth, which just looked awful off the rip. That was a loss. And I had Scotty Scheffler top 20 round 1. That was also a loss. So I went 0 for 4 and lost 4 units. I am now at minus 0.75 units on the year, which, considering I won 0 bets last week to only barely be in the negatives, we'll take it. Jack's winners were Max Homa and Austin Eckroat, who both missed the cut. My winners were Maverick McNeely and Harris English. Maverick McNeely finished T17. Harris English missed the cut. Jack's wildcard picks were Akshay Bhatia T20 at +240 and JT Poston miscut at +150. They were both losses. Poston made the cut, and then Akshay did not finish top 20. Mine was Justin Rose as the top Englishman over Aaron Rye, Harry Hall, David Skins, Callum Tarrant, and Ben Taylor. It ended up voiding because he actually tied with Aaron Rye, who I think shot 66 on Sunday, to end up tying him for it. So super strange week, all things considered. I unfortunately, again, Jack's not here to kind of get into more detail was some of it. But it was not the best week on the Turn Dogs Golf Pod. And it was a weird week in general. So I'm okay with it. We're going to move on. We're going to go to the RBC Canadian Open. Again, Canadian Open being in Canada, you're going to see a ton of Canadian names listed in the field this week. So keep that in mind. This is a par 70 totaling 7,080 yards. Last year's winner was Nick Taylor. It is notorious because, Nick Taylor like threw his putter after I won. And now that I think they're trying to make that like the symbol for the RBC Canadian Open, or actually I think it is this year. It is also notorious because that is the tournament where after Nick Taylor won, Adam Hadwin went to go spraying with champagne and got absolutely, NFL linebacker style tackled by the security guard, which was it was A1. It's hilarious. It was all over social media for weeks. But yeah, very, very memorable in terms of the tournament for reasons outside of the actual golf itself. So Nick Taylor beat Tommy Fleetwood actually in a playoff last year in order to win that. He drained, I think, a 65-footer. So that was quite interesting. Couple of things to note. They've played this event at multiple different courses, but this year they're actually going to be playing at Hamilton Golf Club and Country Club. This will be the first time at Hamilton in 5 years. This is the 2019 Canadian Open. They've changed up the course slightly, but needless to say, it is still not that long of a golf course for these professional players to be playing. Based on satellites, the long ball hitters are going to have a potential advantage here. There are a lot of holes where if you can drive the ball like 305 yards as far as carry goes, you're going to miss a lot of the water. Well, there's not a lot of water, mostly bunkers, and then a few holes where there's water in play that are going to be in play otherwise for guys like Kevin Kisner. Sorry, Kiz, you're just not the longest hitter of the golf ball. He's literally said it himself. So if anybody has a really long carry and they can keep it, on the planet, that could be a viable option this week. Just to give you guys the top 10 in terms of who are some of the longest hitters in the field. Number 1 is Cam Champ at 309.2 yards. This is all average driving distance. And this is carry. So Cam Champ is 309.2. Rory McIlroy is 309 even. Kevin Doherty is 308.9. Taylor Pendrith is 307.3. Alistair Dockery is 307 flat. Vincent Norman is 306.4. Keith Mitchell is 306.2. Gary Woodland is 305.7. Adam Scott is 304.7. And Sahith Thagala is 304.3. A few of the first names off are like Ryan Fox. and then Shane Lowry. So again, a couple of the other big names. Outside of that, again, there's not a ton of information you can really dig into this field. I wouldn't look at course history unless you just want to look at 2019 and see how somebody did 5 years ago, just to see how they played on Hamilton. That's fine. But note that Hamilton is a much different course than each of the last 5 years previous. So it's not going to give you a lot of the same data in terms of what you're looking for course history. So that's really not all that important to me. With that, let's get into the DraftKings pricing. We're going to have 4 guys that I'm going to loop together in the 10,000 range. We're starting with Rory McIlroy at 12,100, all the way down to Shane Lowry at 10,100, with, again, Thagala and Fleetwood kind of hanging out in the middle there. I'll go through each of these guys quickly because I got a little bit of information on all of them. Rory this week potentially has capability to absolutely dismantle this course. Again, it's not very long, and being second in the field in driving distance will be huge to avoid those bunkers in play. Let's not also forget that he had 2 wins in a row and has been gaining off the tee and on approach in each of his last 5 starts. And the only reason he quote unquote struggled with a T12 finish at the PGA Championship is because he lost half a stroke putting. I don't really think anything else of it this week. I think Rory is the top tier and the top tier alone, which explains why he is so much higher price than everybody else. I still think he's probably worth that price if you want to get to him at 12-1. If you can't logistically because your lineup doesn't make sense to, I understand, but 12-1 is not astronomical, especially considering there's guys priced in the 5K range in this field. So I think Rory is 100% worth the price point if you can get to him. Second guy is Sahith Theegala. He's gained strokes, ball striking consistently. The biggest issue is the around the green play where he struggles. Now, again, Sahith Theegala has been consistently playing well in terms of his form. He's got plenty of top 20 and top 30 finishes, and he has the upside to win. It's just a question of whether, is it worthwhile? Do you get the second most expensive guy for him to finish T25? Do I think he has potential to play better? Sure, but realistically, he's going to likely finish somewhere in this range. I think he's going to be a great player here, especially with some big greens. I just think he's in his own tier, kind of below Rory. So I think Rory is the top of the top. I think Sahith kind of has his own tier there in the second grouping. And then you get Fleetwood and Lowry. Tommy Fleetwood, if you look at his history, he's kind of playing Will Zalatoris-esque type of golf, where he performs better on hard tracks where the cut line is closer to even par and the winning score is closer to even. That is not going to be the case this week. I think the cut could finish, 3 or 4 under in a relatively weak field, respectfully. Tommy is also usually priced in the 9K range with him being at 10,300, that is quite scary. He has notoriously struggled in tournaments where he is priced above 10,000, with a few miscuts, a few T30s, and only one top 20 finish, which was a third at the Honda/Cognizant in 2020. Again, he's that third tier for me, and I think it's pretty clear. Shane Lowry, now you might look at his PGA Championship and think that he's on an absolute heater, but let's not forget he gained 9.5 strokes putting there, which is the most he's ever gained in his career. And that is not going to be a sustainable metric to keep going forward. Before this PGA Championship, he had lost 20 strokes putting in his previous 3 measured events. If you're telling me in a perfect world where everything is going to go his way, this guy is maybe going to finish top 10. I want somebody with a little more winning upside, considering he's in the 10K price. I actually think he's a worse option than probably 2 different guys in the 9K range. So that's something to keep in mind as well. If you want my top 3 here, I think it goes just straight down the list. Rory, Theegala, Fleetwood, and then again Lowry being 4th. I think it's all pretty fair priced here. If you want my second best player in the field, you can get to the 9K range. Let's start off with Alex Noren at 9,900, all the way down to actually Adam Scott. There's only about 6 guys who are priced in the 9K range. I think that's quite indicative of a weak field. But if you look at the last 36 rounds for strokes gained total, Alex Noren is second behind only Rory McIlroy. And the funny part is, too, he's not being carried by that number in any one particular category either. In his last 8 starts, he had lost only strokes putting 2 times, and other than that, has gained in every other category, in every other start. During this run, he's finished no worse than T24 and has finished 12th or better 5 times. I'm going to continue to play Alex Noren until he gets off this run. It has been an absolutely astronomical heater. You could argue this course is not a perfect fit for him, but he's just been playing so well. I think he's going to disregard the fact that it is not a perfect course and still play well here. Somebody who I'm not a big fan of is Cam Young. Uh, if he wasn't playing like hot ass, I would enjoy, I'd potentially get to him this week. He's lost on approach in each of his last 3 starts, and his putter and his short game are really just not saving him. He is a streaky guy, and right now he is in the middle of just one of those downhill, really bad streaks. So I am just going to be avoiding him like the plague. With the other guy I like in this range is Maverick McNeely. Mav has gained strokes ball striking in each of his last 5 starts. If you take out the Zurich, which again is the team event, so I think there's some semantics in it. Mav has made every cut since the Amex way back in January. He's also gained in strokes gained off the tee in 10 straight tournaments, which will be very useful this week. He's also third in field in strokes gained total in the last 36 rounds, only behind Rory and Alex Noren. So you're telling me, 2 of the top 3 guys are in the 9K range, which is kind of funny to me. So I'm very high on him this week. Sam Burns, he is somebody I am scared of this week. He's missed the cut in 3 of his last 5 starts. His putter has gone cold, and he's lost strokes putting in 4 of his last 5. He's also lost on approach in 3 of his last 5 as well. He was consistent like 3 months ago, which people might see and think, oh, he's going to play fine. But he's just not in good form right now, and I am fading him until he basically comes back. That's just kind of the rule with Sam Burns. Occasionally, when he hits one of those heaters, you can hang on to him, but he is not in one of those heaters right now. I didn't talk about Adam Scott, but he's got plenty of driving distance. Again, he was 9th there in the field in driving distance. He's a viable option, but I think he is a tier below in terms of McNeely and Alex Noren. So he's just not, he's just not as fancy of an option, and I'd prefer to go elsewhere. Into the 8K range we go. We're starting with Aaron Rye at 8,900 all the way down to last year's winner, Nick Taylor. I will start off with a guy at 8,700, Kashmir Keith Mitchell. He is 7th in the field in driving distance. He has the skill set to perform this week in a relatively weak field. The putter is going to be his biggest challenge. He has lost in 4 of his last 5. But Keith really kind of has the potential to overwhelm this course, similar to like a Walmart version of Rory McIlroy. Again, Walmart version. Let's be abundantly clear on that. I'm not saying he's going to be Rory McIlroy this week, but with the driving distance similar to Rory, it's going to be a similar version, just slightly lower. The other nice thing about Keith is that he's got 4 top 40s or better in his last 5 starts, so he's playing again decently well. Do I wish somebody with a little more upside was in my lineup at 8,700? Yes. But I think in this range, he is one of your better options. This range actually has a lot of Canadians in it. I think Canadians in the Canadian Open is a terrifying thought. Generally, they do not do as good as you want them to do for whatever reason whatsoever. So, like Adam Hadwin, Mackenzie Hughes, Nick Taylor, I am not relying on any of them this week. I understand if you want to. But there's outside of Nick Taylor winning last year, there's never been any sort of boost for being a Canadian and playing in the RBC Canadian Open. You don't infinitely play, 1,000 times better because of it. Has Corey Connors played well here in the past? Absolutely, 100%. Does that mean that I'm going to go up and get to him at 9,500 just because he's playing the Canadian Open? No, there's no reason to. There's plenty of other guys that are in better form who have more upside, in my personal opinion. Who else do I like in this 8K range? Tom Kim is an interesting option. He's lost half a stroke on approach to the field in his last 36 rounds. It hasn't really mattered. He still played decent, but it's scary to get to him with his approach being so bad. But he's also somehow gained off the tee, which if he figures out his approach then and he's gaining off the tee and he's got the half decent putter, the dude is gonna be dangerous again. But he just hasn't seemed to figure out how to hit the approach shot. Which is terrifying because that's basically what he was absolutely crushing when he first got on tour. Let's see. Anybody else really stand out here? Not really. Aaron Rye, you're basically relying on everything but the putter because his putter sucks. But he has played well recently, so I totally understand. Nick Taylor has not played well. I understood he won here last year. That was at a different course. I don't think there's really any reason to go back to Nick Taylor. He may make the cut, but I don't think a T50 at 8,000 is anything that I am, actively going to reach out for and want more of. So keep that in mind if you're considering Nick Taylor this week. Into the 7K range we go. Mark Hubbard at 7,900 all the way down to Rio Hitsasune at 7,000. Again, Mark Hubbard made another cut last week. He finished T65. It was not flashy. It was not exciting. If you are scared that there is going to be total overhaul this week and that all the big names are going to miss the cut, there's a high likelihood that Mark Hubbard won't. So you'll probably be in good shape there. So I totally understand if you want to get to him. Another guy to look out for, in my opinion, is Davis Thompson. He's an above average driver of the golf ball, basically hitting it 300 yards off the tee every time. He also has 4 top 23s or better in his last 5 starts. The game is really rounding into form. He's a young guy. I think that he has potential to contend this week in a field that, again, I don't think is that strong. If you want to go with any Canadian this week, go with Taylor Pendrith at 7,600. Of all the Canadians in the field, I think he has the best skill set for this course. He ranks 4th in the field in driving distance, and prior to missing the cut at the PGA Championship, which again is the PGA Championship, and Taylor Pendrith is not a guy that we anticipate playing well in Masters. He rattled off 4 top 11s in each of his last 4 starts, including that win at the CJ Cup. He had also been gaining strokes putting in 4 of his last 5, only losing strokes putting at the PGA Championship. Again, I am willing to look past a major championship for a guy that is not normally major championship caliber. So I am quite comfortable if you want to go to Taylor Pendrith as a Canadian option, be it as it may. Seamus Power, he's been incredibly inconsistent this year, either gaining 4 strokes total and finishing top 20, or losing 4 strokes total and finishing close to last. It's really going to be a game of Russian roulette, whether Seamus Power is going to play good or bad this week. If you want to look at the model, he technically did well last week, which means he's going to finish bad this week because he's kind of been, playing ping pong back and forth between good and bad finishes. It's a terrifying thought if you're in a single entry where like the top 5 guys only win money. He's the kind of guy that with upside that I think has potential to do well, but I personally would avoid it unless you're in one of those crazy high upside opportunities. Ryan Fox has been playing quite well recently. And again, he has the driving distance to play well in a field like this. So I think that is something to keep in mind. And then I don't hate if you want to go to Thorbjorn Olesen at 7,000. He plays decently. He's got enough distance to be okay. And I think he is one of those guys with more upside. Rio is one of the shortest hitters on tour, so I don't know if he's the first guy I'll go to this week. But knowing Rio, even though he's super short on tour, he will still play just fine in the field. So I totally understand if you want to go that route. Into the 6K range we go. We are starting with Luke List at 6,900 all the way down to Ben Martin at 6,000. Wow, what an interesting lineup range here. So I don't see him in the field, but I think he could honestly be priced here. Actually, let me start with a few of these guys first. So first things first, Kevin Tway. He's going to stand out in terms of a viable option, but he's lost strokes ball striking in every tournament he has played in since the RSM in November of last year. Although admittedly, some of them didn't have, some of them don't have strokes gain metrics like Corrales or like Zurich. But even so, he still had 3 T11 or better finishes during that stretch. This is actually a tournament that really could fit Kevin Tway's style in terms of performance. If you don't want to go the Seamus Power route and you want to go for somebody with a little more upside, I actually think Kevin Tway rates out very well in terms of a model at this event. So at 6,700, if you like that option a little bit more, save yourself the like $500-600 as opposed to Seamus. I think he could be a viable option. I'm also going to talk about Mac Meisner, who is coming off a T13 and a T5. This course does not fit his skill set, as he's not long off the tee, but the 6K range has a bunch of really bad options. And he is somebody in terms of recent form that is one of the better guys on tour. So I like Mac Meisner as an interesting choice. Who else do I like in this range? Oh, I like Patton Kizzire, who again, if you look at his cuts, he's only gone 4 of 11. But all of them have been recent. All of his made cuts have been recently. He started off the year, I think, missing like 6 cuts in a row. He's been sneaky with 4 straight top 28 or better finishes. Has been doing most of his damage on approach while gaining half a stroke to the field each week. His driving distance is mediocre. His putter is about average. But again, he's been, I think, top 20 on approach in the PGA Tour in his last 36 rounds. He's been absolutely crushing it on that instance. It's an interesting option at 6,300 if you wanted to go that route. Is he 6K or 5K? He's 5K. Yeah, that's right. He is 5K. So in the 5K range, let's start off. We got Vince Whaley all the way down to, oh boy, who is this Canadian? Justin Matthews. Good for him. Way to make it into the field, buddy. I'm so proud of you. I'm going to start off Pearson Coody. He is 15th in the field in driving distance. He also has moments like last week at the Charles Schwab where his play really comes together and he can get a top 10. He has the upside to do this. Again, is it a risky play? Absolutely. Do I like the other options in the 5K better? Yes. But if you want to go driving distance alone, Pearson Coody is a young guy with the driving distance who is currently on a hot putting streak. That makes it an interesting option at 5,700. If you want to go $100 cheaper, Henrik Norlander has been one of my favorite plays so far this year. He is one of actually the shortest hitters in the field, not named like Aaron Baddeley or Kevin Kisner. But he does rank top 20 in approach and greens and regulation, and is T24th in the field in putting. I definitely think he's worth the opportunities, even without the distance. I think the rest of his play can kind of keep everything together, and he can make the cut. Now, again, am I going like top 40 on him? No, but it is an interesting option, and I do think he is the upside. I think I forgot to say his name way up earlier, but as a lot of you guys know, in that 6K range, you got Camp Champ, or is he 5K? Hold on, I gotta find him. No, he's 6K. Okay. Camp Champ is going to be an interesting option just because of driving distance. Now, if you look at at how many missed cuts he's made in the last month and a half, it's been like every tournament. It's been absolutely disgusting, and there is nothing pretty about it. So keep that in mind if you want to go that route. Last name I'm going to mention, he is 5,500 here on DraftKings. Alistair Doherty. This is going to be kind of a fancy play for some people this week if you are very in tune with the Corn Ferry Tour and the World for and the DP World Tour. He is 6th in the field in driving distance. He finished T2 at Myrtle Beach, behind gaining almost 9 strokes putting. And he has 4 top 35 or better finishes in his last 5 starts. Again, 4 of them being on the Corn Ferry Tour in terms of his starts. The thing to keep in mind is, although he finished T2 at Myrtle Beach, so much of that was behind his putter that he is likely not going to do that again. Now, again, if he does half of that, I think he's making the cut this week in a weak field. And if you're telling me at 5,500, you can get a guy who's pretty much likely to make the cut at the same rate that somebody in the mid 6Ks is going to be, I'm going to take the chances to get that mid 5K, especially if you want to go get somebody like Rory. I think Alistair Doherty is a very good option at 5,500. So I went very quickly there through a lot of the names. I would avoid a lot of the Canadians in this field. I just don't think that they are necessarily worth some of those top tier options. But again, it's, if you want to go that route, go Taylor Pendrith. That's all I'll say. All right. I have my DraftKings, my FanDuel, my bets, my winners, Jack's winners, and then my wild card pick this week. So I'm just going to rattle off down this list really quickly. I'm sorry if this is a shorter episode. Again, with Jack here, I'm trying not to give you guys too much dead space. I can talk about, growing tomatoes for all that matter, but it's just not really going to do anything. And I'm, next week we'll get you guys a bit of a longer episode. If you've enjoyed it so far, or if you've enjoyed the podcast, please do subscribe. Drop a like on the video, make it known so that way more people can reach us. Again, a lot of golf and a lot of golf betting is kind of hidden behind paywalls. It's one of my least favorite portions when I was first trying to get into golf betting, which is why I decided that I was going to do this with Jack. Um, so drop a follow if you're listening on podcast, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like or a review, depending on whichever one you're watching. And if you're feeling the spice of life, drop a comment. We'd appreciate that as well, especially if you're on YouTube. So again, appreciate you guys on that route. For my DraftKings lineup, I am starting off with Rory McIlroy, 12,100. Second, give me Alex Noren at 9,900. Third, I'm going Davis Thompson at 7,800. Fourth, give me Taylor Pendrith at 7,600. Fifth, give me Thornbjorn Olesen at 7,000. And sixth, give me Henrik Norlander at 5,600. On my FanDuel, I'm going to a lineup I equally like. I'm going with Rory McIlroy at 12,800. Alex Noren, 10,800. Maverick McNeely, 10,400. Davis Thompson at 9,700. Ryan Fox, aka Foxy, at 9,000. And Alistair Dr. T at 7,200. Again, he is 7,200 on FanDuel. That is one of the cheaper, he is way cheaper on there than he is on DraftKings. So if you are a DFS guy and you want to go on FanDuel, Alistair Doherty is a very good option in terms of price point. You don't have to get to him, but he's quite cheap, and I think he's a lot better than 99.9% of the guys below 7,600. So keep that in mind. As far as bets go this week, I have 6 of them. So my first one is going to be Alex Noren, top 20 at plus 150. Then I've got Maverick McNeely, top 30 at plus 110. I've got Adam Scott as the top Aussie over Aaron Baddeley and Harrison Endicott at minus 170. I've got Rory McIlroy, top 20, round 1 at plus 110. I have Alex Noren over Sam Burns. And then a flyer I have this week is Cameron Champ, top 40 at plus 220. Now, if you're listening to this on Tuesday or Wednesday and you see that Cam Champ has made cut odds, I would prefer to go with his made cut odds. Let me be abundantly clear and repeat that again. If you have the opportunity to bet Cam Champ made cut odds as opposed to top 40 odds, go that route. I think this could be a very sneaky week for Cam and Champ. And at plus 220, I'm going to go with his top 40 odds there as my quote unquote flyer of my bets. For this week's winners, Jack took 2 pretty popular guys. I gave him some ball busting for it. But he likes who he likes. And he likes Sahith Theegala, and then he likes Shane Lowry. And again, I kind of talked earlier. I think they are both very viable options. I like Theegala more than Lowry, but I understand both sides. Because he took 2 kind of big names, I am taking 2 lesser known, lower tier guys. Again, I'm going to go Taylor Pendrith and Cameron Champ. And those are going to be my 2 picks. If you want to go for a Taylor Pendrith made cut or top 40 bet, he again is the one Canadian I would go with that route on. I could not do it in my heart of hearts for my bets because I don't want to rely on any Canadians this week as far as my bets. But I think that it is a viable option if you want to go to it. My wild card pick this week is going to be Rory McIlroy to be in the final pairing on Sunday at plus 260. Again, I think Rory is exponentially better than anybody else in this field in terms of recent form, overall form, top players in golf. I don't think it matters. I think it is Rory, 50 feet of crap, and everybody else. So the opposite of Moneyball athletics, that's for sure. But keep that in mind this week as far as it goes. I'm sorry again if this was a quick podcast. Again, I'm running solo here, trying not to waste your guys' time, and what can I say? I like to talk, so I just start going, and nobody shuts me up in this instance. So I appreciate it. Next week we are at the Memorial again. Jack will be back, but for this week, have fun, safe betting, deuces.